Let's talk pricing. How on earth do you go about pricing your product? For years, I barely worried about costs, and one of my businesses probably wasn't financially feasible. So this is important. You need to create a pricing plan that factors in your margins, your distributors, your retailers that you might have in the future. And if you get it wrong, this can take a really long time to fix. So how do you ensure that you cover all of your costs, have enough margin for everybody who wants to, and make enough profit to be financially sustainable? Because profit is not a dirty word. Let's start at the very beginning by understanding what it costs for you to make a product. Grab a pen and paper and start listing all your expenses that are incurred through producing or sourcing your product. Be thorough. I find that I will often forget one or two things, so we'll add to it over a day or two. That's okay. You'll want to include everything from raw materials to the labour required to make it, lease on any buildings, commercial kitchen for example, packaging, power, and so on and so forth. If you have multiple products or SKUs, you need to do this for each one. So you have specific COGS, cost of goods, for each product. And don't forget things like freight. Next, of course, you add it all up. Are you horrified by that number, or is it what you expected? Have you definitely factored in people's labour? This is the thing people find the hardest to do. Have you factored in your time? So many entrepreneurs don't want to worry about paying themselves in the beginning, which totally understand, but you still need to factor in those costs from the beginning so that eventually you can. Now you can have a look at what you want to sell it for. This same process holds true for products and services, and it simply depends on how you want to sell to people. So the easiest is direct, selling at places like markets or online on your own website. You know what you need to cover because you've just worked it out, so you can put your desired margin on top, and there is your RRP, recommended retail price. We will come back to ensuring that price is tenable for the market soon. Now, the costs associated with running your market store or your website, they don't fall into COGS, they fall under the gross profit line, but these must of course be covered in your margin. If you're confused, go and have a look at the Know Your Numbers module for a breakdown. If you're going to sell through retailers or third parties, you need to leave room for their margin. Some products go through 2 or even 3 sets of hands before they ever hit a customer, and each one adds a margin. In an incredibly generalized model, let's say you need to make 65% margin, not markup. You use a distributor who wants to add 20%, and your retailer probably wants between 50 and 60%. That's a hard thing to work out in your mind. So the absolute best tool to work all of this out that I have found, and that is freely available, is something called Omni Calculator, link below. Simply pop in your costs, the margin you need to make, do a separate calculation for each margin step, and it'll give you the perfect result. Now this can be a wee bit depressing, and it's often where businesses start to realise, maybe this product is not financially viable, maybe I'm not charging enough. Do this piece early and ensure you can price it right, or you're going to need to evaluate your entire business model. Not all businesses can go into retail, for example. Okay, you got to the end, you factored in all your distributor pricing, you're going to make some money, but how do you know if that end RRP, that price, is palatable for your customer? Well, by now you know who your target customer is, their preferences, their needs, their willingness to pay for your product or service. So you need to research your competitors. Analyse your competitors' pricing, their strategies, and identify the price range within which similar products or services are being offered. This will give you an idea of the market rates and help you gauge whether your proposed price is reasonable. So what are the unique features, benefits, and value that your product or service offers compared to your competitors? If your offering is better value or it has additional features, customers might be willing to pay more. You don't have to be offering the same prices to your competitors if you can explain why you're better. But you are on the hard road if you are twice the price with no consumer-facing benefit. Now, another way to collect pricing feedback is through potential customers. I love to survey my customers through social media and surveys, and I do this constantly throughout my entire business journey. I want to ensure I know how people feel about our pricing, because you will often get comments on social media that don't actually reflect what people actually think. Ask about their price expectations, how they perceive the value of your product. This can help you better understand if your proposed price aligns with your target audience's expectations. And ultimately, you will see if your pricing is off base. If it's too low, your company will struggle to make ends meet, in which case, start again at step 1. But if it's too high, you will struggle to make the sales you expect to. Remember, you can always drop your price, but raising it is a little bit harder.